Hey YouTube, coming at you with a Greatly team featuring Shadow Drapion as a safe swap. So I wanted to use a safe swap. Obviously, if you've watched these videos a long time, I use Sableye, I use Lickitung, I use Gligar. I think those are like just some of the best safe swaps. But I was going through my list and I'm like, Shadow Drapion's interesting because it can kind of deal with like as a dark resisting the claws on Feraligatr, and you do like okay in a lot of just sort of neutral matchups. So I was just like, this kind of seems like a good one to test out. I started with annihilape wigglytuff because I also want to try Wiggly because I saw Wiggly a bunch in the other battles and I was like, Wiggly's kind of sneaky as a fairy but also half normal typing. But then you're just like with the poison and a fairy, you're kind of weak to steel, so I put in sandslash halfway through. So let's look at some battles. Medi on the lead. Neutralish lead. A bait game, right? So you have Shadow Ball, which one-shot. You have Psychic, which will one-shot. Counters are resisted in both directions. So I bait Night Slash. They bait Ice Punch. I go straight for the Shadow Ball coming up here to win CMP. But they shield and they bait me. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to catch on Drapion here. Spoiler alert as I let this play out. So Shadow Ball shielded. I shield up a Psychic and they go to the Ice Punch. So then I'm like, okay, I cannot take a super effective Psychic on Annihilape, so I'm going to have to try and catch, and let us see Drapion in action here. Right before I get to the Shadow Ball, as expected, catch on the Drapion, resisted, Psychic, so okay. And they are, I expect to catch themselves here, so I'm not throwing right away. I am throwing right away, okay. You would expect that catch too, so I don't know why I threw right away. I think I threw right away because they could probably get to the Ice Punch to take me out, so I kind of had to force it. I'm running Aqua Tail and Crunch. So there's situations like this where I love Crunch. I'm sorry, I loved Aqua Tail, and you are going to see a bunch of matchups like this one and a couple others where I get to the Aqua Tail first. And then there's one where I safe swap and like against like an Azumarill, and they don't leave because as the Shadow, most are running Aqua Tail and Crunch. So if you're running Aqua Tail and Crunch, you have nothing to throw at like a Azumarill. So there's a couple scenarios like that, which was annoying. I end up getting my Annihilape on a Bastiodon, and I will just, Shadow Ball does not do much, but these counters are doing a ton, and I will get to the move before here. So we'll take that out. Cresselia, terrible lead, right? So we're going to instant swap into Drapion. And I think what surprised a lot of people is how fast Drapion, like 5 Poison Stings to a Crunch and only 4 to an Aqua Tail, right? So this stuff comes really fast at you if you are not prepared for it. And this is where, okay, so this is where Aqua Tail is. Let me look up the stats because there's a lot with this Pokemon. I think it's a very good Pokemon. I think there is a lot of strengths, as you're going to see. I get a ton of Aqua Tails off here. The main problem with Drapion, if you're running Aqua Tail Crunch, so stat product 118, 136, 117, 1892 overall. Not amazing, but not like the worst thing in the world. Poison Sting is just a fast charging move. 4.5 energy per turn, right? 2.16 when you get stabbed. For damage, not much damage, you're just getting it for the energy generation. Okay. Aqua Tail, 35 energy. Crunch, 45 energy. Sludge Bomb, 50 energy. And where Aqua Tail in the Shadow version helps and hurts is the damage relative to the other one. So I think Crunch is a must because it has the best, I think, energy, damage, stab, lowering the defense, right? 45 energy, 100.8 damage, 2.24 damage per energy, 30% chance lowering your opponent's defense. So I think Crunch is a must. Aqua Tail versus Sludge Bomb. So you're going to see in a lot of these matchups that I get off multiple Aqua Tails. And you know what? Even with non-stab, 66 damage for 35, 1.89 is not bad, right? Having a 1.89 damage per energy is not bad. Now, of course, these calculations take in the 20% shadow bonus, right? So if you were to run just the normal Aqua Tail on your non-shadow, it's a 35 for 55 damage for a 1.57. And I think this gives you more of an accurate representation of the moves. right? So, and then the Sludge Bomb in this scenario is 1.92 damage per energy, 50 for 96. But then when you put Stab on, it's even more. So you get the 50 for 115 for 2.3 damage per energy. So the trade-off is having 2 Stab moves in Crunch and Sludge Bomb, having 2 moves that I think actually give you generally better coverage. I'm trying to think if there's anything that resists Crunch and Sludge Bomb. Because Crunch will be resisted by other Darks, which Sludge will do neutral. It'll be resisted by Fighters, which most scenarios Sludge will do neutral. So I think for the most part, Crunch Sludge Bomb gives you coverage, whereas plus like if you run Aqua Tail Crunch, stuff like Azumarill just going to resist all your charge moves. But having that 35, again, having that shadow bonus to give you like 1.9 damage per turn energy at a 35 energy move, just having that spam move plus something for coverage of like the Bastiodon that you saw there and stuff like that. It's not, I can see why. And in this, like, but the thing is, like, if you were against the Bastiodon, I could see just going Crunch and doing just relatively the same anyways. Not as good, but still pretty decent. So it's a trade-off whether you run Aqua Tail Crunch. I wonder if in the Ultra League they suggest Crunch Sludge Bomb. No, Crunch and Aqua Tail in the Ultra League as well. So again, that is a Sims which I think also favorably gives you advantage for like baiting, which Aqua Tail allows you to do, right? Otherwise you have to just go straight Crunch, which could flip some matchups, having to get to Crunch every single time. So that's the trade-off of Drapion. I think it's good. Like I said, I probably wouldn't use it as like a top 5 safe swap for Great League. Like I want to see what PvP Poke ranks, because they're probably very similar to what I would rank. For Alligator, Gligar, Lickitung, Poliwrath, Sableye, like that is those 5, and Annihilape is 11. I agree there, right? So 6 of the top 11 safe swaps here. I guess 6 of the top 10, because for Alligator is listed twice as a shadow and non-shadow, is what I would agree with for safe swaps first. I would use for Alligator first, Gligar first, Lickitung first, Poliwrath first, Sableye first, and Annihilape first before I use Drapion. Drapion Shadow is number 15 on this list, right? And if you take out the doubles, there's double for Alligator, there's double Gligars. When you take out the doubles, you're basically jump up to like 12 or 13 as a safe swap. And it does feel like that is the case. Like Guja's number 5 on here. I find that really interesting. I find that really interesting that Guja's number 5 on here. But yeah, it does feel like maybe like the 10th safe swap that I would potentially use, but it's an option, right? It is definitely an option to use. So I haven't gone over I went over a couple battles. I mostly want to talk about Drapion. Basically, as you're gonna see here, this is where the Aqua Tails do come in handy, right? I'm getting another one off here. Basically, it's very Sandslash is a better sort of counter to like a balanced team, because Wiggly you usually get yourself into issues, but like an Annihilape, Drapion, Sandslash, you are double weak to ground in the back if you do Sandslash, right? Drapion with the have poison, and then the steel on the Sandslash will make you double weak to ground, so just keep that in mind. But if you basically how you use this team, Annihilape is good in itself, right? Annihilape is potentially used as a safe swap in a lot of scenarios. So I'd stay in with a lot of stuff, but again, if you do see like a ghost, or you see a fairy, like those are pretty easy just to get into Drapion. The thing with ghost is like, yes, Poison Sting is also resisted by ghost, but Crunch is super effective against ghost, so you can, the trade-off is like you as a dark will resist ghost yourself, plus the Crunch is super effective, right? So getting a Drapion there is a pretty good scenario to be in. And this is where I started Sandslash, and Sandslash is also pretty... Sandslash is still really good in this meta as long as you keep it away from like fighting and... as long as you keep it away from fighting and fire, which is double super effective. Like, I think Sandslash still has a lot of play in this. So there's a lot of Pokemon. Like, again, I don't know whether I'll be able to like showcase all these teams. I mean, I'll definitely showcase a lot of these teams this week. I don't know if I'll be able to double up is when I didn't double up yesterday on Monday. I can potentially double up today on Tuesday. The only problem is tonight I've got a fantasy baseball draft, so that's going to take out my time to shoot a video tonight. But I will try to do my best to get you guys a lot of videos this week. But I've used a lot of different Pokemon. Like, I've got a team with Defense Deoxys coming up. I got a team with Dragonair coming up. Do I have another team? I feel like I got like 3 or 4 teams with like a variety of Pokemon that could potentially do well in the Great League. So I do think there is... The meta is, I think, more wide open than it has been in the past couple years, like seasons. I don't think it's like the most wide open thing, right? If you're still, there's still 20 Pokemon that are very much dominating this meta, but there are others they can use, right? So Cresselia, Quagsire, Lickitung, Gligar, Swampert, Skarmory, Feraligatr, Lantern. Yeah, Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is one that I used really strong. If you haven't used Mandibuzz, is that my next team coming up? Mandibuzz is very strong in this meta. And the Dark Pulse, I love running Dark Pulse on it compared to the Foul Play. When you used to run Foul Play on it, it was just kind of like, like I get it, you're bulky, but don't hit hard. But that Dark Pulse like really adds a chunk to you. The difference between Dark Pulse and the Foul Play is 5 more energy for Dark Pulse, but 12 more damage, right? So you do feel that extra damage a lot of the time. Annihilape, Whiscash, Azumarill, Gallade, Empoleon, Medi, Whiscash, Pelipper. That's it. I got a Clodsire team. Clodsire, again, I'm just... But then when you get into like the 33 plus, this is where you're not seeing Pokemon as much anymore, but they're still very viable. I've got Clodsire coming on a team. I got Dragonair coming on a team. Trevenant, I think, is very good in this meta. Umbreon, I think, is good in this meta. Sable, I think, is good in this meta, right? So you're getting down to like the Charger Bug at 65. Defense Deoxys, like I said, just used at 66. So I think there's a lot of Altarias at 70. I've seen a few Altarias come out recently at 72. So I think, and Togedemaru, 83, gotta love it. So I think there are a few, and Skeldur's 94. I definitely think that the meta is concentrated. I don't think it's like 10 Pokemon like it was last season with like Whiscash and Poliwrath. I think it's a little more wide open than last season. I think there's also more other Pokemon that you can use. Like last season, it felt like you couldn't use these other Pokemon, but it feels like this season you can. So I do think the Great League is a little more open this season. Wigglytuff, again, Wiggly has seen a big rise this season because of the Claw users being able to resist Shadow Claw, plus hitting super effective with the Fairy on like fighters and stuff. So I think seen a lot more Wiggly. So yeah, there's a lot more, I think, many more options this season. So that makes me gives me a little more pep in my step this season. Being able to use more Pokemon and not have to just talk about the same like 10 Pokemon every single time. And I will get the second Night Slash off and they are out of here. Anyways, that is it. Let me know if you have any other teams that I should be using. Again, I've been kind of reading the comments. I haven't been going through and like liking and commenting on as much as I normally do. Just again, busy with work, family's all sick, getting ready for Easter, stuff like that. But I'm still around, I'm still reading them. And that is basically it. So yeah, let me know if there's any other teams or Pokemon that are really strong that you're using in this meta. Otherwise, you may or may not see a video this afternoon with some of the Pokemon that I mentioned. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.